What is going on, guys? So today we're going to be reading from the subreddit r/NuclearRevenge. So this first post is where my dad ruined a pedophile's life. Okay, so let's get into it. So I like to drink with my old man. He has 3 daughters and 1 son. He told the story to me and my little sister. She's only 1 year younger than me. My oldest sister lived with her mom and stepfather at the time it happened. One day when she was 12, she called my dad in tears and told him about how she was molested by her stepdad. She just wanted to tell someone who would believe her because her mother at the time didn't. My dad was about to get his stuff to beat her stepdad's ass, but my sister told him that she didn't want him to do anything since she didn't want him in jail. So my dad quickly contacted some old friends and gangs and told them everything. He was furious. My oldest sister's stepdad was beaten so bad that he barely recovered. Her stepdad and mom separated not long after. My dad made sure to know everything about this man so he could ruin his life as much as possible. When he got to a new city, my dad got word of it. He made sure that he got another extra beating or 2. This went on for years on end. My dad was told a few years ago that he sits in a wheelchair now, and he can barely do anything by himself. He's still not satisfied. If it were up to him, he would be dead. No one hurts his children. My oldest sister haven't really had any relationships and lives with her best friend and a cat. She's 32 now. She's happy to this day, and I finally got to meet who she is. She reminds me a lot of our dad. Same humor, same behavior, a lot of the good stuff. And she looks out for family. She's such a great person. I'm not sure if the story is allowed. If not, just remove it. I'm posting here since another subreddit removed it. Edit. To those who say it seems fake, we were all drunk and my dad has a tendency to overshare his personal experiences when he's wasted. It's not exactly his words, but it's the basis of the story. My older sister was a well-behaved child. She wasn't scared of anything, I was told. Whenever my dad came to pick her up, she looked so scared that she just wanted to leave as soon as possible. Both her and my dad said this. My oldest sister doesn't like to share that kind of stuff. I get why. Alright, so that was the first story. Let's go on to the next one. Asshole beats up my little brother because of his mental issues. Gets beaten within an inch of his life. Repost. I'm reposting this as it was removed because of Rule 15. Miscellaneous Rule A, or whatever that means, so, oh shit, here we go again. For context, the story takes place long before I was born. My father told me these stories many times when I was younger. In another context, my father wasn't a witness, but his friends told him the story so detailed that they were when it happened. That it almost sounds like he was there, so here we go. TLDR at the bottom. Cast. Cage. Asshole verbally and physically attacked someone with mental health issues. Daniel. Poor guy who's semi-mentally challenged. I'll explain it later. Vin Johnson. Daniel's big brother. The name will make sense when I explain it. Story. Okay, I don't know which year this took place in, but as my dad never specified that, but I know this took place when he was in his late teens or early 20s. Okay, there was this guy named Daniel who was, semi-mentally challenged. When I say semi, I mean occasionally he was able to successfully understand the situation around him. The majority of the time he couldn't successfully understand the situation around, but the majority of the time he couldn't because of that. His friend group constantly protected him, not out of pity, but because they genuinely cared about him. However, this one jerk-faced Cage decided that he didn't like Daniel's mental issues and decided to poke fun at him. No, they were at a bar and Cage had a large group of friends with him who all forced Daniel's friends to back off, since they were taller and thus intimidated, although they kept close in case things went south. They assumed a verbal assault would be the first that this would go, how they were wrong. Cage decides to poke fun at Daniel, makes stupid noises at him, purposely talking all wrong and broken, as a way to mock his difficulty to speak due to his issues, and everything else you can imagine. But like I said, Daniel most of the time wasn't able to pick up things around him and thus wasn't fazed by the insults, since he couldn't really understand what was going on. This seemingly upset Cage, then resulting in beating the ever-loving hell out of Daniel. Daniel's friends immediately tossed aside the intimidation of Cage's friends and tried to stop him, but they were restrained by Cage's friends while poor Daniel was defenseless against Cage's beating. 2 minutes later, Cage stops the beating, laughs at Daniel, and kicks his foot one last time before leaving with his buddies. Daniel's friends take him away to the hospital and inform his parents and older brother. Daniel's brother will call him Vin Johnson. Why? Because if you take Vin Diesel, Dwayne Johnson, fuse them together, that's Daniel's brother. That's how buffed and jacked he was. He went full Papa Bear mode and seeing red and at his beloved little brother being beaten to a pulp, and demanded to know who did it. And Daniel's friends informed him. Vin immediately returned to a bar a day later, from what I was told, literally kicking the door open and loudly, aggressively asked, I was told this part many times, and the words are quite exact. Who the fuck beat my brother up yesterday? Which one of you fuckers did it? Start talking or I'll tear this place piece by piece. Despite Vince's Hulk-like stature and Darth Vader deep levels of deep voice, Cage wasn't scared smugly and walked up to him. I did. What you gonna do about it? Without less than 0.000000001 second later, Vin punched Cage so hard that he actually flew back a couple feet. Vin stomped over to Cage and continued to beat him up, as in he stood above fallen Cage and rained punches like all of those you see in movies. Then he picked him up and threw him against the wall before grabbing him by the hair and smashing his head onto the pool table several times. Finally, Cage's friends interfered, although they were all beaten up by Vin. Seriously, this was a 5v1, yet Vin whooped their asses. According to my father, whose friends were there and were watching the whole thing, Vin took two of Cage's friends, lifted up both of them, with one hand each by the throat, smashed their heads onto a glass border, knocking them both out instantly and leaving them with several cuts from the falling glass. Then Vin finished off Cage's remaining friends before returning his attention to Cage himself. He was literally dragging himself across the floor in fear, and Vin grabbed him by the collar of his shirt. Cage begged him to stop, but Vin sarcastically asked him if his little brother Daniel also begged him to stop, and Vin continued to beat the shit out of him. And even after Cage was knocked out, with his face covered in blood and its few teeth knocked out, Vin continued to beat him up, and was only stopped by Daniel's friends, who told him to stop, otherwise he would kill him. And Vin actually said, I still don't see the problem. The bartender was indeed watching, but knowing what POS Cage was, deciding not to do anything. Yup, Cage was that much of an asshole, but since he paid for beer almost every day, the bartender wouldn't throw him out. Then Vin decided to end the beating by picking up now unconscious Cage one last time and threw him across the bar. Cage's head smashed against the jukebox, something like that. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something related to music. Vin and Daniel's friends walked away, and the bartender called an ambulance for Cage and his friends. A few weeks later, Daniel dispatched the hospital, only suffered bruises, but was overall alright. When Daniel's friends returned to the bar sometime later, they asked the bartender if they knew what happened to Cage and his friends. The bartender actually knew almost everything that happened. Apparently, Cage's friends decided to find out actually what happened, since one of Cage's eyes had suffered so much damage he actually became blind in one eye, and asked for security footage, but the bar didn't have cameras, so there was nothing. However, the bartender actually came clean and told him about what happened, and Cage had done to deserve the beating. Surprisingly, the parents were entitled, what a miracle, and understood the situation, and asked the bartender to tell Vin and his family that they were sorry for their son's behavior and promised to update him on Cage's future and inform Daniel's family about Cage's punishment. Then, according to the bartender, Cage's family refused to take him back home and literally threw him out on the streets, telling him that he was willing to be a defenseless person, then he shall become defenseless without support of his family. Cage then became homeless, and his friends abandoned him and became a loner homeless. One day, Vin actually passed by Cage while driving in his car. Since it had been a day after a rainy day, there were water puddles around, and Vin supposedly drove over one, splashing over to Cage, completely soaking him in dirty water. Cage began cursing at him, but as Vin slowed down to look over, Cage recognized Vin and legged it. Not too far long after, Cage was arrested for trying to steal food off a local market, and his parents actually further added to his sentence over the beating he gave to Daniel, making Cage spend some quality time in jail. After getting out, however, Cage was finally allowed to go back home, but he was never allowed to go out with his parents ever again until he found himself a job, a house of his own, and a life of his own. TLDR, asshole beats up someone with mental health issues. Okay, that's just the name. Edit. Since many people here are calling bullshit on this story, feel the need to include this. Like I said at the beginning of the story, this was a story my father told me many, many times when I was younger and supposedly took place before I was born, so I can really confirm whether it's real or not. But I remember how detailed it was, and a few friends of my father also confirmed the story, and they told me bits and pieces of the exact same manner my father did, so I believe it's true. But like I said, I can't prove it. Y'all are entitled to your own opinions, but stop with all the aggressiveness. Stop calling me names just because you don't believe it. If you don't believe it, fine. Comment it and fuck off. But no need to be cursing at me for being aggressive. Damn, Cage is a fucking asshole. Wonder how he is today. If they gave a full name, I would look him up. Alright, so this next story is... Think this deserved nuclear revenge basically made her evil stepmom homeless. How I screwed my stepmom over at the moment I had legal option to do so. Hey r/pro revenge. After finding many YouTubers reading stories here, and some of myself, I finally decided to try posting of my own revenge story since my first time posting. Please be lenient in any formatting with spelling errors, TLDR at the end. Backstory. I'm sorry it's long, but some context is needed. When I was 9 or 10, my parents got a separation, later a divorce where my dad forced my mom to sell my childhood home. And then my mom got me in custody with my dad having us. They had me and my 4 years younger sister. Over the other weekend plus every other holiday, he moved out only to be immediately moved in with a step monster and her 3 kids. The youngest was 2 years old than me. 2 years younger than me and a boy. And the middle year older than me and a female. I'm not sure the oldest age, but she was also a female. I never interacted much with her. An ideal world, 4 kids would have gotten along great, played together or whatnot, or at least ignored the existence of the other. Sadly, it's not an ideal world, and that didn't happen. My sister got along with them just fine. I didn't. Maybe it was my then still undiagnosed Asperger's syndrome. Shit. Okay, I accidentally left the page. Sorry. Asperger's syndrome. Maybe it was me not instantly going, yeah, yay, new family. But my step siblings didn't like me. They started bullying me, and my little sister joined in because she adored the new step family, and she was just 7 at the time. Over the first 6 months, the bullying got worse and worse until I broke and tried to call home and get picked up. At which point, my dad decided to start confiscating my phone as the first thing he did when picking us up. The bullying escalated more, and there was nothing I could do. The step monster defended her precious demon spawn, calling me a liar and saying things like my kids said they didn't. Whatever they did say to hurt me or that day, or she's just lying for attention. So these kids and parents are basically just entitled little pieces of shit. During the next year, I would try to run away from my dad's place a few more times to go to family. They live less than 40 minute walk from an aunt and about 1.5 hours from my grandparents. Then my dad and my stepmonster moved over 2 hours by car away from where my mom lived. Things got so bad that I dreaded going to see my dad sitting at every dinner. The only time I would see my dad at that point, between pickup and drop-off, was listening to my dad calling my mom a fat, greedy pig and other evil things. At 12 or 13, I was a suicidal and numb, since all I would only see is a step monster. Mostly she told me to get the heck out and play or something, just get out of the house. I tried telling her that I wanted to die, that I didn't want to keep living like this anymore. Her response, I don't care, get the fuck outside already. If you're going to kill yourself, do it outside. Not long after that, I had a meltdown at school, crying for hours, unleashing the whole nasty tale onto them. Since my school was a good one, the teacher contacted CPS, who only talked to me, ran some tests, sent me to a psychologist, and at some point they contacted my dad and their concerns for mental health, emotional well-being. My dad dealt with it by calling me saying, since you feel the need to lie like that, you shouldn't come visit anymore. Stay with your mom. I don't care. That was my last conversation with him, although I heard a lot about him and the step monster from my sister. Now for my revenge. 10 years or so later, I get a phone call from my dad's sister about him passing car accident in the funeral. I went and I met my step monster again, obviously widowed now, and now my half-brother. For the first time during the funeral and following wake, she proceeds to insult me, my mom, and the rest of my dad's family, and then she started complaining about how his name is on everything they had together, and that how is she not going to keep the house? It was paid down by but taxes and whatnot. Now she never worked a day in her life, and such thing. Which is where my revenge comes to play. See, in my country, the children of deceased have a right to claim the minimum of $115,000 each. There is that much money or value in goods left behind, and there is no will stating otherwise. Normally, this claim comes after the deceased spouse also dies, or when they try to sell the property worth the money, whichever comes first. Normally, seeing legally, the children can claim it at any time. They just don't, 'cause decency and pity for the widow. Too bad I hate her guts and both of the youngest step-siblings. As it so happened, my dad and the step monster owned some award-winning show dogs. The house and land, a car. The step monster also got some insurance money, plus she would get a sum of about 60% of what my dad would earn if he was still alive every month. If my dad had a will, she would have kept it all of that for herself, or half of my brother. I'm back. I ended off at. Okay, I'll just start. If my dad had a will, she could have kept all that for herself, or my half brother. He didn't. And by that time, my sister also hated her guts. So I talked to her, and the only thing I could think of was we took her to court to claim our inheritance. Sure, we got many looks of disgust and mutters and greediness, but in the end we won. I got my share of the money, my sister got hers, my half-brother got his. Locked in a trust for when he turns 18. This meant that the house, dogs, and car had to be sold. The insurance money also got spilled, so us kids each got around 115,000 each. In each trust fund for my half-brother, as for the step monster, she got around 1,000 and the monthly sum of around 3,700. She was livid, started screaming venomous shit, saying that I would have killed myself when I was considering, and how is she going to live now? She have no house. And how dare you force me to sell Grimer? Obviously fake name for my half-brother's childhood home. And calling me a bitch for and such other things. The judge had to threaten her to contempt of court and get her escorted out before she stopped. Edit 1. Remove the acronym I used for step monster. Someone asked about a reaction, so I added that. 3 grammar. Okay. Okay. So the next story is where crappy customer gets vandalized. I'm not sure if this belongs in r/regular revenge or r/pro revenge, r/nuclear revenge, or r/justice boner. But I'll post it anyways and hope the Reddit moderator gods don't smite me. I work at a restaurant where employees are overworked and underpaid. Despite this, everyone is cool with each other and management. The evils that mess up our day are the customers and our own by the book district manager who drops by every now and then. For about 3 months, we had someone in the men's bathroom come in and smear an ungodly amount of fecal matter all over the handicap stall. What the fuck? Of the men's bathroom. Even sometimes they'll fling scat outside the stall onto another toilet or a wall. Of course, management sends one of us peons to clean it up. Fortunately for me, I never had to do so as I worked for the. I never had to do so because I was the cash register. The one coworker who we'll call Arthur was who I'd call the personification of pettiness. He was crazy and had a smart mouth and an explosive temper, and when pushed too far, me and Arthur were cool. I never had problems with him, but management always had him clean out the bathroom when it was poo smeared. One day, Arthur came in on his day to get some food. After placing his order, he went to the restroom. While there, he heard someone moan and groan and have a massive shitstorm in the handicap stall. He didn't think much of it even when he smelled the god-awful scent. An older gentleman around 50 exited the stall. Arthur came out and notices the poop smell was even stronger than before. Curious, he peeked into the stall and his poop smears all over the place. Infuriated, he asked the old man if he had done that and why he would even. The old man said with the shit-eating grin, "Look, I don't care. I just want to ruin some poor fucker's day." Arthur set off as he was that poor fucker. Initially, Arthur wanted to clock the guy right then and there, but in his own words, time slowed down around him and all he saw was red. Arthur didn't say anything to the man, instead washed his hands and sat back down waiting for his food. He sat on the opposite end of the restaurant, but the location provided an overview of the entire floor. He could see the old guy at his booth, munching away like nothing happened. Of course, someone complained that there was poop smeared all over the wall, and one of the other employees said that Arthur was cool with had to go clean up the mess. Arthur caught the old guy looking at the situation, grinning to himself, seeing that Arthur thought the man needed to be taught a hard and hurtful lesson. The old guy finished his food and drove home. Little did he know that Arthur was following him. He ends up following this old guy to his home, stakes it out for an hour. Arthur does this for a couple weeks, following him home, learning about this guy as quickly as possible. Even on days off, he drove over there to see where he lived and followed him to the both restaurant and to the old guy's company. Arthur gotten a rough idea that this guy's work and sleep schedule, so it was time to enact his revenge. Going by the information he acquired about the guy's activities in the neighborhood he lived in, Arthur figured out that the guy lived well enough to survive and had no means of backup if something were to happen. Arthur had a part 3 plan for him. In the dead of night, Arthur went to the old guy's house. He slashed one of the tires. The old guy drove a Jeep, so Arthur opened the spare tire compartment, poked a small hole in it. The old guy woke up from the following morning to find his tire flat. According to Arthur, the old man was on the phone freaking out because he was going to run late for work if he didn't have the money to get a new tire. Not only that, to Arthur's surprise, the old guy didn't know how to change a tire. The old guy spent nearly 2 hours in the hot Texas morning heat on the phone with someone on how to put a spare tire on. This was important for later in the act. At this point, Arthur is foaming at the mouth with excitement. The old guy drove home on the spare to work, only to find out after the afternoon that the spare went flat. Even more frustrated, the old man drives the car to a nearby auto shop to get both tires serviced. Later that night, Arthur slashed 3 out of his 4 tires. Remember, the old guy was on the phone getting instructions on how to get his tire fixed. Well, before that, he had called his car insurance company to get someone to come out and fix his tire. He was very loud at the gist of the conversation was that the insurance company wouldn't have come out to fix his tire and couldn't get the insured because all 4 tires weren't blown out. They said it would be easier and least expensive just to change the tire himself and get another. So later that night, Arthur slashed the other 3 tires to save for the new one. Arthur wasn't there for the following morning, but he knew the old guy surely had a meltdown, that he didn't show up to the restaurant for a month. Second act, piggybacking on the first act, Arthur would regularly check on the old guy's car when all the tires were replaced. Arthur went to the old guy's house late at night, poured a gallon and a half of sugar and bleach into his gas tank. His car had one of those manual gas covers instead of the modern buttons inside your car. So no, none of the wiser in the morning, during Arthur's stakeouts, the old man started up his car, left for work, only to get halfway there before the car stopped working, so the old guy had to get his car towed to his house. Arthur got the old guy's name and phone conversation and searched him up on Facebook. He downloaded a couple of good pictures and created him a few flyers. Due to the old guy's car being unusable, he wasn't able to come to the restaurant to do his usual crap, pun intended. Arthur printed the flyers out and posted them all over the restaurant. The flyers had a picture of this guy's name, his name, and described what he did in the bathroom for the past few months. A few days later, the old guy comes in with a friend. The friend goes ahead and orders while the old guy runs to the bathroom. One of the coworkers spotted him and notifies everyone there, including the friend. The old guy starts to do his thing in the stall until he sees the flyers with his face on it. He storms out of the bathroom, flyer in hand, angrily demanding the person responsible to step up to him. Arthur steps up to his uniform, claiming responsibility. The old guy begins threatening to sue for slander and emotional damages, and the offenses, to which Arthur simply said with the equal shit-eating grin, "Look, I don't care. I just want to ruin some poor fucker's day." Old guy's soul momentarily leaves the body as he realizes the same guy he confesses his crime 2 weeks ago to one of the employees. The manager arrives to ban the old guy from the restaurant. The old guy threatens to ram his car through the windows, to which Arthur says, "Is your car a unicycle? Better check those tires, you poor fucker." The old guy then realizes that Arthur was behind the attacks, banned from the restaurant, no evidence of Arthur's vandalism. In extreme embarrassment, the old guy decides to bow out. Haven't seen or heard from him since. Unfortunately, fast forward a month or 2 nights ago, Arthur got arrested from fighting off an off-duty officer at a convenience store. Alright. Guys, that was r/pro revenge, and I will make another one tomorrow. Like and subscribe, and peace.